Welcome to Race to Win, a sailing podcast brought to you by racecues.com. We review 3D regatta replays and analyze racing rules, tactics, and winning strategies. My name is Jakin, and this is the second podcast in a series about upwind race geometry. I'm going to use this same J22 regatta from Texas that I used for the last upwind geometry podcast because it's just such a great example of what I want to talk about. You can see here that I have two boats selected, Frankly Scarlet in green on the left and Bling in red on the right, and they're making their way up the first windward leg. Now right here you can see I have the little separation tool turned on. Bling is leading by about 62 meters. And remember, you can tell which boat is in the lead if you think about the course in terms of ladder rungs. So here's a visual of the ladder rungs. And as long as the boats are within the ley lines, the boat that has advanced farther up the ladder or made it further to windward is the boat that's in the lead. Okay, the next concept I want to introduce is the rhumb line. And the actual technical definition of a rhumb line is fairly complex, but in general sailor parlance, most people use rhumb line to mean the straight line between where you are and where you want to go. So on this course, I'm going to draw the rhumb line between the center of the start line and the windward mark. Okay, you can see that most of the fleet, in fact all of the boats except for Bling, are basically clustered around the rhumb line. The reason they do that is because the closer you are to the rhumb line, the more conservative your strategy is. The farther out you get, the way Bling is now, the more risky it is. What Bling is doing is called building leverage. And just like when a bank builds leverage, it comes with a lot of risk. Let me switch to a top-down view and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, let me just get the view settings set up right. Zoom in a little bit, and then I will throw in another rhumb line. Okay. So again, the farther you are from a rhumb line, the more you stand to gain if you get the right shift, and the more you stand to lose if you get the wrong shift. Let me draw in some ladder rungs to illustrate my point. Okay, so you can see that right here, Frankly Scarlet and Bling are basically equal. There's 9 meters between them. But if the wind were to shift to the left, you can see that Frankly Scarlet would make enormous gains on Bling. Likewise, if the wind were to shift to the right, Bling would make enormous gains on Frankly Scarlet. In most races, the illustrations I'm using would be huge exaggerations. In this race, they're actually not. The wind went that far left, and Frankly Scarlet gained about 400 meters on Bling simply because Bling picked the wrong side of the course and built a ton of leverage on that side. Okay, I'm going to let this play out, and as I do, I want you to pay attention to the boats that are just to windward of Frankly Scarlet. Because they're all approximately the same distance from the rhumb line, the giant left shift that comes doesn't change the balance of power that much in that part of the fleet. What it does change is the relative placement between Frankly Scarlet and Bling, because Bling has gone so far outside the rhumb line and built up so much leverage on the wrong side. Now, most sailors know that besides rounding the leeward mark, tacking is the only required maneuver that slows the boat down. Therefore, there's a very strong incentive to minimize the number of tacks you do on any given windward leg. However, if you try to do the minimum number of tacks, which is 1, which means you go all the way out to the ley line and do what's called banging the corner, or tack on the ley line and go straight to the mark, you really put yourself at risk. If you get the wrong shift, you're going to be totally screwed because you've built up so much leverage. If you get the right shift and you're already on the ley line, then you've overstood the ley line and sailed more than your minimum distance. Either way, going out that far that early is usually a bad option. Sometimes it's also helpful to think of the line that comes down from the wind and passes through the windward mark. This isn't technically the rhumb line, although what we were talking about earlier isn't technically the rhumb line either, but it is a useful way to measure how much risk you're taking by how far outside you've gone on the course. If you want to sail a conservative strategy, stay close to that line and try to do really good tacks. If you don't feel your tacks are strong, go outside, but do it with the knowledge that if the wrong shift comes, you're going to be in big trouble. That's it for this week's episode of Race to Win. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave us a review on iTunes, and make sure you check out our website at www.racecues.com/podcast. See you next week, and happy sailing.